Sometime in fall 2023, I went digging around for a file in my partner and I's shared server. And in doing that, I ended up uncovering a bunch of art that I had screenshotted and sent, but never properly saved to my computer. All of a sudden, I became hyper aware of the mortality of my work. If I hadn't sent those screenshots, they would have been lost. Forever. And around spring 2023, my partner encouraged me to avoid deleting bad or failed drawings and just hide the layer instead. And while that was great advice, in actuality, I had just delayed their inevitable death. Because at some point, all of those PSDs are gonna get purged, and they did. I don't know how many drawings I lost, God knows it was too many, but if I ruminate too hard on it, I'll fluster. I immediately opened as many of the remaining PSDs I had since the purge, and began digging through them one by one. While I had only been able to go through about a handful of PSDs, covering about 4 to 5 months of work, the amount of drawings on death row was staggering. In December, I had finally quit my job in preparation for the attempt at turning my life around in 2024, now, and slowly began crawling my way out of a depression I'd been stuck in for over a year. Because of this, I began drawing more frequently than before. Thanks to the heightened awareness of my art's mortality, I also became more aware of the ups and downs of the creative process. I started becoming kinder to myself in regards to iteration work, and how good drawings don't just come out of thin air, no matter how long you've been drawing in your entire life. I wasn't exempt from having bad initial drawings, nor was I exempt from having bad drawings even after I warmed up, requiring multiple redraws and iterations to get a final product that I was proud of. As a result of this newfound kindness, I aim to spread this awareness to others, to help remind other artists that we're just gonna make a lot of crappy stuff, and that's totally fine. The first times I ended up putting this into practice was here and here. I decided to make a timeline of my drawings from start to finish to illustrate how many attempts it took to get something that I was actually proud of. With that, plus now having saved a couple 50 drawings or so from imminent death, I thought, what if I put them all in a collection? So I did. While my partner was at work, I spent my morning slowly chipping away at a digital PDF that showcased all of my work that would have otherwise been lost forever. It was humbling in a way, and very difficult. Not that putting together the PDF itself was difficult, I've done a few of these, but the pride I had to swallow, the humility it took for me to take all of the work I would have hid and burned, and put it out there all in one place for literally everyone to look at. And that was hard. There were so many times where I just wanted to remove certain drawings, pretend like I hadn't drawn them at all. But I knew that wasn't right, no matter how much my pride begged me to. In the end, I completed the PDF with my partner's advice and threw it up for free on my Ko-fi. And while normally I'd kind of advertise my art books as a product in my descriptions, as they are, this is a topic that strikes me very deeply, so I decided to genuinely write about it, and it's this. At some point I realized that some of my work was becoming lost media, even to myself. Drawings I didn't like that I had either deleted or tucked away in a layer to be forgotten about inside a dusty PSD that would later get purged during a data clean. Those drawings are gone forever, so I decided to salvage the ones that I hadn't burned. Even if putting these out there is incredibly difficult, I thought it might at least do some good, either by preserving my work with some sort of respect to myself, or by showing others that a lot of artist drawings can just be a little smelly. I think ultimately my entire video can be summed up with just that paragraph alone, but I thought that recounting my story in a little bit more detail might make for a more engaging overall point. Since I released the book, I've noticed an overall shift in the patience that I allow myself when creating. While I do believe that this is a comorbid effect of moving out, because as a whole my mental health has improved tenfold, I don't want to discount the benefit that keeping it despite everything has done. This is the first time I've name-dropped the title, and I just want to say 2 things. The first is that my partner suggested it, and it's absolutely perfect. And the second is that I sort of believe that it's become its own term, at least to me. The act of keeping it despite everything is something that any creative can do, and something I personally highly encourage. Now, of course, there are nuances, especially regarding physical media, and I do trust everyone's judgment on where that line is placed, but on the whole, I think it is beneficial at the very least to participate in some sort of introspection on the act itself. Overall, I feel as if, at least on my end, that I've been really careless with my files. Even recently, and you might be familiar with this if you watch my streams, I lost a bunch of important iteration files of some sculptures, which is normally fine, but in my case, I was strictly looking for this base mesh that I reused over and over during the first few saves of a bunch of files. And because I deleted all of my iterations up until the final on multiple projects, and within that file, I had deleted the subtool that I wanted, that base mesh could have just been entirely deleted. Like, gone. Not just gone, but unrecoverable. There would be no existing saves or exports of that file. It is never coming back. I would have never done that in real life, not only because digital sculpts aren't real, but because if I had actually seen what I was tossing away, I would have taken a second look. When it comes to digital files, we're only seeing the file name, extension, and some simple properties like file size or date. What we're not seeing is the 2 hours of unexported doodles on a random layer that I forgot about when the title of my canvas had nothing to do with said doodles. So I think, well, that piece is done, I don't need this file anymore, and now I will never see those drawings ever again. If I was forced to reckon with those doodles before making the conscious decision to gut them, I would have never chosen to throw them away so carelessly. Nowadays, I've been meticulously combing through my PSDs and exporting every drawing from the session, ensuring they're out of the confines of the PSD. Making sure that if I wanted to delete my work, I'd at least have to stare it in the eye. And even if it's just a useless text file or abandoned project file, if genuine, real physical media had the ability to just simply vanish in thin air with the click of a button, would we think a little bit more before deleting? So yeah, I think that in the end, we should just be kinder to our work. Yes, even the ones that make you look like you just learned how to draw yesterday, and God knows I have some of those, there's even some in my book. In future, I plan on continuing to collect my undesired work in further collections and share them on my Ko-fi, probably yearly. Creating digital art collections is something that brings me a great amount of happiness, and I'm not entirely sure how well documented and cataloged it is, so if you'd like to see me cover how I create my art books, please let me know. I hope that my story has maybe encouraged you to ruminate a bit on the mortality of digital art or even digital media as a whole, and perhaps even inspired you to save your own dismissed work. Thank you very much for watching, and please, at least for me, open up the file before deleting it. You never really know what could be in there.